Hello, somebody. It's Joel with Godwin Realty, and you're now tuned in to Inside the Trenches on ESPN New Orleans.
Welcome back, beautiful people, to hour 2 of Inside the Trenches. I'm your host, Marlon Favorite, and my main man, Mario Jerez, decided to stick around for another hour. So we're going to start this hour off talking about Saints OTAs. This show is brought to you guys by Small Sliders, 1635 Barataria Boulevard, Amarillo. Y'all come check us out live at Small Sliders Weekly. We're there on Fridays. We do pop-ups throughout the week. Stay tuned to @BigFave504 for that, but we'll be out there every Friday for sure, 11:30 to 1 p.m. So, Mario, man, earlier today, it was steaming hot out there at the Saints OTAs. A lot of y'all out there, a lot of us out there in the media just kind of felt for the players because it was a little hot, but, you know, we understand that at least our players getting in some good shape with the heat. Mario, in hour one, as we wrapped hour one, you and I talked about the defense a lot. We looked at some of the faces that were out there that there this week that wasn't there, like Jamal Williams. I want to go on the offensive side of the ball with you, and I want to get your observations of the wide receivers. We have a new group of star receivers in A.T. Perry. He's a rising star. Looks like he's in a heavy rotation with the starters. Chris Olave and also Rashid Shaheed. When you talk about those guys, Mario, how they look out there at OTAs to you?
Oh, I like how the wide receiver room is shaking up, man. Even with when you talk about building depth, don't want to take too much away from the oohs and ahs of training camp. Some guys will shine and then not make the team, but guys like Cedric Wilson Jr. make some good plays with Derek Carr. Bub Means, the rookie, has really stood out in the first few days, and then the first three deep, I think the Saints are in pretty good shape. A.T. Perry, he did get accosted a little bit for fooling around during a drill by Clint Kubiak, the new offensive coordinator. He's way more vocal than Pete Carmichael was, but we could talk about that in a bit. I think A.T., with the year in the NFL, getting some more reps, can be really productive for the Saints this season. This is a really speedy, really big wide receiver that put up great stats at Wake Forest and was really good in the preseason last year for this team. So I expect him to be productive this year. Rashid Shaheed, honestly, exceeded my expectations last season. I thought he'd be a little bit more of a gadget guy, somebody you get out in motion, but he's proven to be a really good route runner. And with some more rapport with Derek Carr, I think his second season as a starter could be a really productive one. And Chris Olave, I think almost a little underrated by Saints fans coming into his third season, Big Fave. I mean, this could be kind of simple, but this is the first time he's had the same quarterback, same NFL quarterback, back-to-back season openers, right? There was a little instability with Jameis Winston, Derek Carr. Now you have year two with Derek Carr, and everybody knows you're the guy. Like, the drama with Michael Thomas is over. He's not eating up targets anymore. Chris Olave will be featured in this offense, I think. And I think he'll be successful. If you look at what he's done already 2 seasons in, I think with the rotating door of quarterbacks, with the inconsistency on offense for the Saints, the numbers he's put up have been really impressive, and I don't see any reason for that not to continue in year number 3. The Saints definitely have some holes, but at wide receiver, I think they're in pretty good shape here on May 27th.
Well, or should I say May 28th. Shouts out to May 27th, though. That was me and my wife's anniversary. But, yeah, Mario, you make a good point. We are in May, right? At the end of May, OTAs are going to go through June. So if we're just judging from that time frame right now, in the moments we are right now for our listeners, coaches are looking at what type of shape guys are in. Like, what were you doing when you weren't with OTAs? Even with the young rookies, all right, you went through college. Let's see how you are here with the way we're speed and high tempo and able to go along. When you look at the next set of receivers, you have Cedric Wilson Jr., in my opinion, out of the guys you just mentioned, he falls into that group in terms of experience. And they put up some production out in Miami. And, of course, at Dallas, he was in that rotation. You have Bub Means, college guy that I think is going to make some noise. And then, of course, St. Brown. When you look at that next wave of receivers that rotate in out of that group, what are those guys looking like at OTAs?
Yeah, you mentioned St. Brown. That's an interesting name. We all know about his brother, the Sun God in Detroit, one of the better wide receivers in the league. And this is a player who I'm sure you remember him in college was very productive for Notre Dame. Actually had a few big plays against LSU in the Music City Bowl, but for whatever reason has not been as productive as his brother in the NFL. That's an interesting name for me, somebody who has size. And we already talked about Bob Means. He's every year there seems to be like a different young receiver that stands out. I think of Emmanuel Butler Jr. in the past. I think of Adrian Arrington. And like you said, we're in May 28th. Don't want to take too much, but if there's somebody from that crop of receivers that has stood out during these practices, it would definitely be Bob Means. And these practices are always really productive because Sean Payton used to tell a story a lot about Marcus Colson's first day of practice. He literally had trouble staying on his feet, like couldn't keep off the ground, learning to run these routes, learning the technique. But then day 2, day 3, once he got that stuff down, he was really shining on this level. So we've seen it before over there on Airline Drive, and the leading candidate for that right now would probably be Bob Means. So like I said early, but like how the Saints are stacking up at wide out.
No, it's all good, Mario. You have a core group of wide receivers that have the capability. We know Chris Olave has the opportunity to be one of the top receivers in this league. Like I can see Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. It depends on what Tyreek Hill you get. You know, you start going down a list of wide receivers. I think Chris Olave, with productive play at the quarterback position, which we'll get to that here next, will really put him in that category with those guys. We know what Joe Burrow's doing. You know, we can imagine what Stephon Diggs and C.J. Stroud is about to look like, Mario, when you start to think about other teams in their core groups. Quarterbacks. The quarterbacks. I mean, Spencer Rattler, I've been seeing a lot of his highlights. He's throwing those spirals. Looks very fit in that position. Derek Carr is being a good mentor to him as he's gearing up. I heard Coach Kubiak speak highly about Derek Carr and how he's really fitting into this offense. But when you look at that quarterback room right now, Mario, at OTAs, what's running through your mind?
So there's a clear pecking order. I think, Derek Carr, very polarizing in his first season, right? It feels like all the fans hate him. It feels like all the media are trying to be objective and coming to his defense. But I'll say that he looks more comfortable out there. And again, he's throwing on air, but he's interacting with guys when he's not in the drill. He's celebrating big plays. He's not coaching as many guys up. I think that maybe rubs some players the wrong way, where he would celebrate the good plays but not the bad plays. But Derek Carr, at the end of the day, looks a lot more comfortable. And he was by far the most crisp guy out there today. The timing, hitting guys in stride, that existed for Carr way more consistently today than it did for Haener or Spencer Rattler. Jake Haener, I think similar to Derek Carr, looks a lot more comfortable here in year 2. Spencer Rattler, at least based on what I saw today, struggled a little bit, Big Fave. It was kind of like a PBU fest where it looked like he was making the right read, but he was just a hair too late. And it would result in throwing the ball at a guy's feet or getting the ball intercepted or getting the ball tipped. Spencer Rattler, you can see he has the talent, but definitely still getting the timing down. And then I think there's a clear gulf between him and Jake Haener, who I would say is the second string as of right now, and then Derek Carr, who is your starter. And like I said, Kubiak being out there, you can definitely tell the difference between he and Pete Carmichael, especially when it comes to the quarterbacks. There seems to be a lot more instruction going on, even right now when you're not doing full team drills. So Carr's looking comfortable. There seems to be a clear pecking order, which I'm sure gives him a little bit of peace of mind. And besides all the bad plays from Spencer Rattler today, there's not too much to nitpick on when it comes to the New Orleans Saints quarterback room.
If you just tuning in to Inside the Trenches, you're listening to Mario Jerez. Mario comes on as a weekly guest. He covers all Louisiana sports for the most part. We talk LSU on here, Pels, Tulane if we gotta. Right now we're talking Saints OTAs. Lastly here, Mario, as we wrap this segment, the coaches. A lot of times we're overemphasizing the players and what they're able to do and how they're adjusting. There are 3 new coaches on this offensive side of the ball. Actually 4. I'll mention 3: Clint Kubiak, Andrew Janocko, and also Keith Williams. How are the players receiving these guys, man, as OTAs is coming along here and these guys are adjusting to a new room as well?
It looks like they're receiving him pretty well. Whenever DA has been asked about Kubiak, and I guess all the new offensive coaches you mentioned, he's talked a lot about accountability, like holding guys accountable in ways that I guess they were not held accountable last season. And then little things that you can already see are different from last year, things like motion that sound basic, but the Saints didn't do a lot of that last year. I'm sure that'll come into play when you talk about play action too later on in these practices. And then Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill, he's being utilized a lot differently. Big Fave. It's kind of weird to see him not taking any reps with the quarterbacks, and that's not to say he won't play under center at all this year. There seems to kind of be conflicting opinions about Taysom and how much quarterback he'll play, but he will be utilized out of the backfield a lot different, lining up at fullback, motioning out, being utilized maybe like Kyle Juszczyk is utilized in San Francisco. And I think it's funny, like for years, so many people have been trying to make other players into Taysom Hill. Now you're trying to make Taysom Hill into the mold of another player. But obviously, Kubiak being there has the experience, would hopefully be able to make that happen. And it's a tough job with Taysom because you do want to get him his touches, but you also want to limit the contact and not like spam it, not overdo it, right? Mm-hmm. I think the key for Kubiak with Taysom is to be a little bit more creative, is to utilize him a little bit better. And I like kind of the new packages we're seeing Taysom Hill in, Big Fave. He might be the player that benefits the most out of Kubiak being in New Orleans.
I like that check comparison, utilizing him like that. And I saw a couple of clips with Taysom Hill coming out of the backfield. This is going to be a fun offense to watch. Coach Clint Kubiak, brother, just have fun with us, man. You got some gadgets in place down here. Coach Allen could definitely use it well. Mario, thank you so much for joining us today, brother. Got to get you back, man. We got more stuff to talk about. Hey, it's Inside the Trenches. Y'all don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. ESPN New Orleans, 100.3, baby. Move your body. Hello.